What's up, you guys? Welcome back to MMA Prophecies. Today I'm going to give my live reaction to Ronda Rousey creating a new memoir and basically going over her last few fights in the UFC and exactly what happened. I've only watched a few minutes of this and it's kind of hilarious already. But yeah, let's take a look here.
Launching the women's division in 2012, she wowed audiences with knockout wins taking seconds, not minutes. As her undefeated streak grew, so did her celebrity. Even picking up movie roles in franchise Expendables and The Fast and the Furious. But in November of 2015, Rousey suffered her first UFC defeat. 1 year later, her last. After some time off the grid, Rousey resurfaced, wrestling in WWE, being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. She also became a mom. In her new memoir, Our Fight, which is out this week, nothing's off limits. And when we spoke true to form, Rousey didn't pull any punches. Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, so you guys all know after she got beat up by Holly Holm, she immediately went to the UFC, as well as getting beat up by Amanda Nunes. After, I mean, you could just tell her decline was super steep, and she could not even take a punch anymore. And that's what she's going to go over.
Herself here in the UFC octagon.
This has to be a great escape for you here.
Yeah, it's my she shed.
But about 60 miles from Los Angeles, in the San Bernardino Mountains, is where she found her voice for her latest memoir.
Writing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds about right that she lives in like the mountains to write this book, because there's obviously a ton of Ronda Rousey haters out there. I don't really care about her personality or who she is, but there's stuff that she puts out there in the media that is just off and delusional, super delusional, and we'll see it. We'll kind of see it here.
A book is like writing your heart down and giving it for everyone else to read. People were like, "Oh my God, it's so honest." I'm like, "Well, what else would I write?"
Rousey able to show vulnerability on the page the way she never could as a fighter.
Why did you want to write this book? I felt like this long form was the only way for me to adequately express everything that I hadn't been in, the last several years. And a lot of it, I wasn't able to be public about a lot of those things until now.
Like an injury.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get that. She was very outspoken, right, you guys? I mean, she would always talk smack on her opponents, seem over cocky. You guys remember she would never shake hands with her opponents, right? And she would just always be super arrogant. Yet now she's saying she can never talk. I don't really understand that, but
History Rousey believes would have put a target on her back in the prime of her career.
It was just something I always was pushing through. So I would get a concussion and continue to train, and I'm hitting the ground over and over again all night, taking impacts. And then every time that you got one, it was easier to get another, and that's why I had to leave MMA. I couldn't take a jab without getting a concussion.
wow, she couldn't take a jab without getting a concussion. I don't know what kind of training she's doing, but if you guys know judoku or judo, growing up as a young kid, you do get concussed a little bit here and there because you're getting slammed on the ground every single day. So for her to kind of complain about getting jabbed, and I don't know what she was doing to get concussed, I don't really understand that.
Which really sucked because I felt like I'd never been faster, never been stronger, never been, better.
Those symptoms, she says, most noticeable in her notorious loss to Holly Holm in 2015, ending Rousey's 3-year UFC unbeaten streak at 12-0.
From the very first time I got tapped in the fight, I was out on my feet, and I was just trying to make it look like I wasn't out on my feet so that I wouldn't get swarmed on and finished off. What bugs me the most about that is so many people look at that fight and think that's who I am as a fighter, and that's how I fight. I couldn't see, and I could barely think. Do you
That's not true. That's not who we see as her as a fighter. We always saw her as like a cocky, arrogant girl who thought she was better than everyone else when her stand-up was not very good compared to the more talented up-and-coming female martial artists. Like Holly Holm, that fight was not even close. She got completely outmatched. She got out-grappled. She got outstruck. Just technically, she was not good on her feet. Wrestling and judo, amazing, great. But after everyone started to figure out takedown defense, that's when her career was over.
Worry now.
What damage you did to your brain with all those concussions?
Definitely. There was like a point where like, I talked about it in the book where I would lose my keys or my phone and I would start crying. Let's put them in here, look.
She says that fear of losing her memories has taught her to live more in the moment. Rousey first started fighting when she was a kid.
The daughter of
I like that, living in the moment. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Being concussed can get you down. I've been concussed and I've forgot things before, so yeah.
and Maria DeMars.
Well, I was like a prodigy from like the very beginning. Like, when I first like grabbed a judogi, it was just like the heavens opened up and I found what I was like meant to do. You know, it was like when Beethoven finally touched a piano for the first time.
At 17, Rousey became the youngest judoka to qualify for the 2004 Olympics in Athens. In 2008, she won the bronze in Beijing. But that wasn't the dream.
When I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was be the first American to win, the Olympics in judo.
Right.
And falling just short of that was what propelled me to go and do what I did in MMA.
It's been 8 years since Rousey left the UFC and says she doesn't have any regrets. In the book, she addresses the potential power imbalance that can exist between coaches and their athletes. Detailing one training session that may have crossed a line, she writes, "We were supposed to be sparring, but his hits got harder and harder. They weren't the kind of slaps you throw when you're trying to train someone. They were the kind you throw when you want to hurt them."
It's not an individual, it's the whole institution of coaching.
I mean, it's that system that you're.
Wow, I don't know who's slapping the.
Young age, you're like indoctrinated into it that this person can yell at you and can insult you and you can't say anything back.
You have to take it.
It's not only her career that Rousey is so open about.
You write about me.
What coach was sparring her? If you guys remember, her coach was Faraz Zahabi, right? So if that was the person that was coaching her and he was just beating her up this whole time, I mean, that does make sense as to why she may have gotten some early concussions there. Who knows? We'll have to find that out. I'm sure more will come out later in her memoir.
I think it's really powerful for people to hear that it was like this for you, because so many women go through that.
I thought I was so immune to it because I was like, oh, I'm a finely tuned athletic machine. This is going to be easy for me. And it was like really humbling in a way. I feel like it's important for women to hear that, it's not just you.
And it's not
It's
your
not just
fault.
you, and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, I don't regret waiting to have kids because now I can give like my kids 100% of my time and attention. Do the honors.
Rousey and husband Travis Brown, also a former fighter, parents to Kiave and Kaleo, her stepsons, and 2-year-old daughter Poe, who at times is her toughest opponent.
Usually I'm like trying to stop, like don't pee on that. That's not like a feeling of mastery.
Mom.
Yeah?
Master of motherhood or not, Rousey credits her husband for helping her realize her worth outside the octagon.
I let myself be defined by my role, not just I'm a fighter, but I'm the champion. I'm the best that's ever done it. He showed me that I am so much more than that little box that I put myself in, and that guidance of, you know what, you are good for so much more than just beating the out of people, even though you're really, really, really good at it. You're so good at it, but it's not all that you are.
Do you miss it?
I don't miss competing. I kind of miss MMA sparring though. It's just like that feeling of being like amazing at something, that like feeling of mastery and like everything makes sense. But I do not miss the anxiety that comes with competition. Yeah.
And while Ronda Rousey may no longer define herself by her MMA and UFC records, there's no doubt she and her legacy helped redefine the sport.
Did you set out to do that? Did you want this to be, it's not just about me, but I want.
I actually like that line. She helped redefine the sport. I think she did help women's MMA evolve 100% because you see all these crazy killers now, women coming up, and I'm sure that they grew up to want to be or beat Ronda Rousey with better striking, and I'm sure a lot of women were like, man, if I can have good takedown offense and I can be champion one day and beat someone like her. That sounds kind of mean, but I'm just being honest, right?
Want this to be about opportunity for other women too.
I mean, honestly, I just wanted to have a career, support myself doing something that I loved. But it wasn't like my goal to create a job for everybody else, for women in the UFC. I just wanted to make a living doing something I was good at, and it just happened to change the world.
It certainly did. And for fans of hers, yes, she talks about her time in WWE. She talks about so much in the book. But what I really took from this, for everyone, there are times in your life where you have to sort of redefine and look at yourself differently. And she talks about that struggle and how she did what she now has done.
All right, I can respect that, but let's see what she says. I know Weasel already came out with a little video saying she was delusional, everything like that. I kind of want to see what she says here.
It was really disappointing just to see how happily everybody had turned on me, and how people like Joe Rogan, who were crying in the ring out of the honor of being able to call my fights, had people I considered friends in the media so quickly, turned on me and forced me to separate other people's perception of me from my own perception of myself, which I first lost. I got tapped in the beginning, and I'd fallen down the stairs a week or so before that, knocked myself out falling down the stairs at my house, and then didn't say.
What? Why is she falling down the stairs? Why are you falling? You're an MMA fighter. You're like an athlete. You're a judoku specialist who specializes in balance and having a good base, and you're falling down the stairs. What is going on?
They went to the fight anyway, had a horrible weight cut, had the wrong mouth guard, which didn't have the protection on the back of the bottom teeth. I was completely disabled, and when I tried to fight again, and I was like, okay, I'm
completely disabled.
I'll make sure the mouth guard was perfect. This time I'm not gonna knock myself out right before the fight and all those things. And the same thing, I just got tapped and I was out. So I just didn't have the hardware to continue fighting. And neurologically, it wasn't capable of continuing to fight at that level. Right before the home fight, I slipped.
I mean, I respect her for completely, being honest.
Stairs in my socks, tore out my knee, knocked myself out on the stairs 2 weeks before the fight. I'm the greatest fighter that has ever lived, but when it got to a point where I'd just taken so much neurological damage that I couldn't take it anymore, suddenly everything that I accomplished meant nothing. And so
there's nothing wrong with calling yourself the greatest fighter and being confident,
Suddenly turned against me. All my appreciation for them turned into resentment, and I just didn't want to have anything to do with them anymore. I didn't want to do anything for them anymore because I gave them everything.
Why is that? There's no humility, there's no humbleness. She doesn't compete as an MMA fighter anymore, yet still holds that same delusional mindset that she always did. In fact, it's grown being outside the sport. How often does she praise Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes for being able to do what they did? She talks more about these excuses, falling down a flight of stairs, not having the right mouth guard, having a bad weight cut. I woke up 10 minutes later than I usually do. We ran out of cereal in the morning. These are all just excuses on top of other excuses, and she barely gives any praise.
This is kind of brutal.
For defeating her. The first loss of her career. Of course, the fans are not going to be kissing up to her, and she had a problem with that. And for her second fight, she says she came back for us. She refused to do media for that fight. She refused to give interviews for us to hear her. What is she talking about? She did it for the people. She didn't want to talk to the people. I was there. I watched every single fight. I remember every single interview. I remember how much promotion she got over the champion, and she refused to talk to anybody leading up to the fight and then after for years. It's been 10 years and she's
Weasel is going in on Ronda right now. He definitely did her. He definitely has done his homework and been following her.
Whatever. Somehow. 10 years ago, it was laughable how delusional and entitled she was. When she was fighting in MMA, she got booed out of the sport, went to the WWE with the same delusion and entitlement, got booed out of that as well, started to make books, got flamed there too, and now is on these different podcasts and shows. And she cannot understand, why do they think this about me? Why do they hate me? Why do they say these certain things about me? Well, it's not that people hate Ronda Rousey necessarily. There are definitely people that hate Ronda Rousey, but it's not that everybody hates Ronda Rousey. She just takes any criticism as hate. If it's negative, it's hate. She just did this with Joe Rogan. She was saying that Joe Rogan is someone who she thought of as a friend, but not anymore because of the stuff that he said about her. For those not in the know, you're probably thinking, what did Joe say about Ronda that she broke up her friendship over? Joe Rogan only said that he overhyped Ronda Rousey's skills. That's it. That's all he said. There was nothing crazy. Didn't go after anybody in her family. Didn't talk trash about her, at least in most people's
Yeah, that's true. Joe Rogan never said anything really bad about Ronda Rousey personally. He never does. He always just says what he sees when it comes to technical fighting and striking and things like that, as well as what he sees that's going on with the fighter. It's all he says. So, I mean, for Ronda Rousey to hate everyone after she, I mean, she kind of did it to herself.
Understanding of trash talk. In Ronda Rousey's world, if you're not kissing her ass, you're trash talking her. If you're not bowing your head at her, you're not her friend anymore. And isn't it crazy that she gets booed from one place out of another? The fans push back against her in MMA. Then they did the same thing in WWE. But she thinks everybody else is to blame. She's not the one in the wrong. It's everybody else. All the millions upon millions of people are in the wrong, not her. If that doesn't show you entitlement and delusion, I don't know what else does. I've never seen a more entitled and delusional person in my entire life. Not just fighting.
I mean, ouch. I thought she was doing well in the WWE. I kind of feel bad now because she had a good run in the UFC, obviously. And then she went to WWE, couldn't even last there. And now she's completely just talking trash on everyone. And obviously getting out of the sport, and I don't know what she's gonna do now. I guess she's just gonna teach judo or something, or write more books. This is kind of a low point.
Turns out Nunes and Holm were not her toughest opponents in her career. It was stairs. Tall stairs, wide stairs, short stairs, spiral stairs, maybe a ramp. Staircases were the ultimate demise of Ronda Rousey's career, not the
That is so savage.
or the real greatest of all time, Amanda Nunes. Nope, it was just stairs. This is why Ronda doesn't get this of all time.
Amanda, the real GOAT.
Amanda Nunes. Nope, it was just stairs. This is why Ronda doesn't give credit to Holm or Nunes. Stairs defeated her. Ronda has more trouble with stairs than a wheelchair.
Look at that helmet. That's hilarious. Oh, this is classic.
A skill that she didn't
Look
believe
at that.
she would have to improve it because she was already the best at it. She has said on multiple occasions that she is the greatest in every discipline of mixed martial arts. Probably, I don't know if she said this, but she might still hold that belief today because she's still calling herself the greatest.
She could be on
fighter of all
Baywatch.
time. The same
Be an
fighter
actor.
that could beat Cain Velasquez and Floyd Mayweather in his own sport, could become a boxing world champion, when in reality, she can't even beat Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes, who are in her weight class. But we all know why she lost. Those darn stairs, man.
Yeah.
But there's more controversy.
Those are there's some doggy stairs right there. This is the stairs you buy to let your little Shih Tzu go up the couch.
Commentator Jimmy Smith has just come out and said that even the other employees in the back, like the cameramen and such, all hate Ronda Rousey. None of them like her. He said when she got knocked out by Holly Holm, they were all cheering. They were all celebrating because that's how badly Ronda would treat him backstage.
Ronda, if you are listening, people behind the scenes, camera people, audio people, the people you can push around, and the people you can bully, and the people you can talk down to, can't stand your fucking ass. Everybody behind the scenes that had to put a mic on Ronda Rousey couldn't stand her. I said, why? They said she was a bitch to us from the moment she sat down to the moment she got up. Like it's our fault she has to do this interview to hype something her next fight, and she's just miserable, and she's mean to us, and we can't stand her. They were cheering when she got knocked out. This is what I was told. Because those are the people you can be mean to and rude to.
Wow.
And they can't fight back. Those people couldn't stand Ronda Rousey. So don't sit here and tell me that you're the victim. When the poor guy sitting behind the camera is doing his job, get on by you, or you're mean to the person asking you questions when we're hyping your fight, don't give me this victim shit. Don't waste my time with it.
The way Jimmy Smith was defining it was that
Wow. So she was apparently just not just rude to her fighter, her fellow opponents, but to everyone backstage. I mean, obviously they're gonna hate you. What do you expect? You know, you work in a company, you're a fighter, and you're not being nice to anyone. Everyone's gonna hate you. I mean, what?
that of a diva. Shocker. No way Ronda's a diva. No, not Ronda Rousey. She's the most humble, down-to-earth fighter ever. Well, she definitely crashed to the earth after Holly kicked her to the head. Well, we all thought so, but...
This is hilarious, though, you guys. This is absolutely...
It would have definitely stopped that head kick from knocking her out. The delusion keeps going and somehow just gets stronger and stronger. Ronda's delusional power level is that of like the power level of a Dragon Ball Z character. It never stops growing. On the cusp of defeat, it only gets stronger and stronger. The reality of the situation is Ronda is not the greatest fighter of all time. Her competition back then was lacking a lot of quality. They weren't as skilled. It was like the beginning of it. They can't be on the level that they are today. Still the weakest part of the sport. But it was always the weakest part of the sport. The 135-pound division was always the weakest weight class.
Yeah, it's true. Still is.
And it didn't take too long for 115, the next,
which is much better now,
to eclipse it in skill and quality. Joanna Jędrzejczyk just herself was eons ahead of every other 135er besides Amanda Nunes and
Joanna was a beast. Shevchenko, Nunes was a beast.
They've been competing before Ronda even made her MMA debut. There are more pioneers of women's MMA than even Ronda was. Ronda just had a big splash in terms of popularity and brought more fighters onto the scene because of all the fame and stuff. But in terms of who competed first, and who was doing the thing first, Nunes and Shevchenko were there before Ronda was. Shevchenko was fighting in like the early and mid 2000s.
I didn't even know that.
Ronda began in like 2009. And frankly, she thinks that all the fans just talk a lot of trash and, you know, they're against her and stuff like that. Well, that's not
zero accountability in her performances, zero accountability in her preparation to be a better striker.
Of the male bantamweights in the UFC, and she's like the greatest thing that ever happened to the sport. He was crying just interviewing her and stuff. That's delusional.
Just never looked in the mirror.
Like an historical figure. It's an honor to be calling her fights and interview her, watching her.
You just tell she's all up in herself and always up in her own emotions.
Boxing was so insane. He even said her boxing was ridiculously good. History. Everything
boxing was awful.
Every fight was historic.
It was good versus women who had no idea what they were doing,
she's a once ever
just purely because of her power and her athletic ability.
It was a moment in time. Whenever Ronda took a step on God's green earth, every time. That's all Joe Rogan was about her. He was the biggest fanboy. He just was. He was the biggest fanboy of Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, Joe Rogan used to love Ronda Rousey.
Joe had to rethink about everything. He's like, okay, maybe she's not that. Maybe she was good, specifically great at judo and great at getting an armbar, but I definitely overhyped it, which he did admit.
I was like, she could probably beat half the men bantamweights in the UFC. Is that true? No, it's not definitely not true. She didn't say it at the time. Now it's definitely not true. She can beat a few that aren't good outside the sport. Look, you took it all in. You looked around. I was like,
yeah, I'm sure she could toss a bunch of guys who don't know anything about judo or wrestling.
It was so emotional for me. That was the closest I've ever come to crying. Well, I might cry now. When I was interviewing somebody, I really knew that I was like seeing history. You're in the middle of history. Knock that girl out like that, and then we're taking it all in. And it was so crazy at the same time. It was nuts. The whole thing was such a strange moment. There was a feeling in the air.
But when Joe stopped glazing, Ronda had an issue with him, just like a cult leader has with her cult followers, in a sense. Not that she was running a cult, but that's kind of what was going on between her and Rogan. It was a one-man cult. But Ronda wants Joe Rogan and other people to still be like that, cater to her and kiss at her feet. But when people aren't doing it, she sees a problem with it. And it's funny, she's doing the same thing that
super pouty.
Other people are doing to her.
Pouty puff girl.
Any credit to her opponents that defeated her. She shows no humility whatsoever. She thinks nobody gives her credit. She's not giving much credit
Look
to
at Mr. Gracie back there in the background. Look like Batman.
The opponent Ronda has to prepare for are those flight of stairs, because it turns out they're the ones that ended her MMA career. And when Ronda says that she came back for us, she came back for the fans, she meant she came back for us to start kissing her feet again. That's what it really was.
Mm.
Because even still, after she lost, it was a sore loser about it, no humility whatsoever, no humbleness at all.
This is such a good video by the Weasel.
Not taking her delusional.
This is one of his best videos.
Ultimately, it went to the WWE.
Yeah, look, we got some Jake Paul, Mike Tyson,
They're left
Conor
with
versus
almost the exact
Chandler.
same reasons. Ronda confuses confidence with arrogance, and she's so delusional that she doesn't even see it.
You know, it was really
Yeah, I don't know how many sales she's gonna get with this book. I can't imagine a lot. I mean, who's gonna really buy the book anyways? I don't know. But yeah, guys, that's my reaction. If you guys like this video, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll be coming out with more videos on some funny stuff. And until the next one, peace out, you guys.